Hi there, this is Matt with State of Flux, and it's Friday the 13th. Happy Friday the 13th to you. I thought I would look back today on the original film, Friday the 13th. You know, his name is Jason, and today is his birthday. We don't really know when he was born. Like, we know the day he was born, but not the month. It's kind of unusual, right? And I guess he's a birthday serial killer, which is kind of also unusual. As we're talking about the original Friday the 13th, we're not going to be talking about Jason too much here, are we? For this isn't really a Jason film. And I think this is also inescapably the best Friday the 13th movie. I don't think it's, like, the most enjoyable to watch by any stretch of the imagination, but I think in terms of quality, this is probably the strongest one, the most movie, whereas the other ones are just cash-ins, which, I mean, this one also was too. This is the movie that famously came about because the producers saw how successful Halloween was and called each other up and were like, we can rip that off, can't we? And that was the genesis of Friday the 13th, and it kind of shows. Not unlike the original Halloween, this relies heavily on not only Halloween, but Psycho. And in fact, I would argue that this film is Psycho just inversed. Psycho, spoiler alert to a, what is that, 60-year-old movie at this point? Psycho is about Norman Bates and his killer mother, but it turns out the mother is all in his head and he's the one that is the killer. And this reverses that. This is about a woman, this becomes about a woman who loses her son, but hears the voice of her son in her head that's saying, kill, 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 die, die, die. Then she creepily starts chanting, "Kill her, mommy! Kill her! Kill her!" This is one of the rare horror films where you have a female killer. That's what's unique and effective with this. In terms of how it rips off Halloween, one of the creepiest elements of the original Halloween film, as I talked about a couple weeks back, was that it put you in the eyes of the killer. This is something that had been done before, but never quite as successful as that opening scene in Halloween. Well, this puts you in the eyes of the killer a lot. The voyeuristic qualities of the first Friday the 13th film, I think, are its strongest qualities. This movie is suspenseful, it's creepy, and it delivers on upping the ante from Halloween. Halloween was an incredibly suspenseful movie splayed out over 80-some-odd minutes. And there wasn't a lot of kills. This movie has a ton of kills, and not only does it have kills, it shows you them. Whereas Halloween, you had two girls who get choked out and one guy who's stabbed, but it's kind of done through silhouette and shadows, so you don't really get to see a ton. There's also not much gore. This delivers on the gore factor. This is the natural next step in the evolution of horror. Now, this is both a quality for this film and a disservice for the slasher genre as a whole, because, as the sequels will show you, including the Halloween sequels, it all becomes about the more dramatic kills, and it's all about the kill and very little about the character. And I will say that this film also does not do a great job at delivering much character, whereas you really got to know the characters of Laurie and Annie in Halloween. I guess Alice is the main character in this. You don't get to know much about her, or really any of the characters outside they're trying to shape up this Camp Crystal Lake. Yet the film is compelling because the people that are in it are excited to be there. They're serviceable enough for what's going on, what I found more compelling with the film is what wasn't shown, which is the backstory behind Camp Crystal Lake. It's the death of Jason and the mother's rampage. on not only the slasher elements of this film. Sounds like the movie opens with two people who were killed in the year after Jason was born. Presumably those were the two actual kids who were responsible for not paying attention when Jason drowned. And it's sort of implied that they're the ones at fault. She ices them, but then every time they try to reopen the camp, she poisons the water. She burns the place to the ground. She is the she throws a wrench in everything they're trying to do, and it escalates to her being the slasher of this film, Pamela Voorhees, and that seems really good and interesting, and it's an avenue that's never explored again, not even in the remake. The rights, there haven't been any sequels for 10 plus years because they've been caught in development hell due to rights issues. But if rights go back and they're able to make another one of these, I think what they should do, and I think what they always should have done when rebooting the franchise, is this movie puts you in Pamela's eyes. Well, pull the camera back and watch her enact decades worth of vengeance on this camp. I think that would be a far more interesting direction to take the franchise. Follow the character of Pamela a little bit, because she's far more compelling than Jason ever was or is ever allowed to be. Because Jason has no character. He says nothing. Not a single line of dialogue that isn't spoken through Pamela in the entire franchise. There's no character there. You don't get to know him. You get to know her, and I like Pamela because of that. She has that quality that makes Freddy interesting as well, which is a killer who speaks. You get into the mindset. There's something that you can tangibly connect to with that as on a human level, even if you don't agree with her motivations and stuff like that. You understand them, and I think that's the best quality this film has, is a killer who the last 10 minutes of this film are pretty strong. What this film doesn't have that Halloween definitely did was a compelling final girl, or any compelling character at all besides the killer. And that's mostly because nobody's really developed. They're just pure like hormones on screen. You get a guy who's like, I'm putting you to work right when everybody shows up at the camp. Grab some wood, grab an axe, we're going to chop this up, grab some of this, we're going to bring it here. And then he disappears for a good chunk of the movie until he shows back up just to be like, oh, it's you! And then gets stabbed. He's a character that you and they like tease a potential romance with the Alice character with him, sort of, but she's not all about that. She's into this other guy, and they kind of tease that a little bit, but they don't really develop these characters. They are paper thin. And any qualities that you like about them are based on the actors involved. And with the exception of Kevin Bacon, none of them are like nameable performers. That isn't to say that they're bad, they're serviceable or whatever, but yeah, Kevin Bacon gets the coolest kill in my estimation. It's pretty gnarly. And my review here is based on the unrated version, which is available on DVD and Blu-ray, which is the one I watched. And yeah, this movie isn't particularly good, but it's also not really bad, and it does hold nostalgic place in my heart. Just in, I grew up in the Blockbuster era where you would go to the video store and rent movies, and these films lived and died based on those rental days. And so this one being sort of the prize jewel of the Friday franchise holds a special place in my heart. It's a movie that I own even though I don't necessarily like, because I respect it a little bit. It's produced and directed by Cunningham, who produced another film that I quite like, that also kind of pushed the boundaries a little too far, which was Last House on the Left, directed by Wes Craven. And when he needed some help with extra photography done on this film, Wes Craven came in and has uncredited hand in delivering Friday the 13th. So Wes Craven, involved with both Freddy and Jason, just like Sean S. Cunningham, did some uncredited directorial work for A Nightmare on Elm Street. Those two figures both are responsible for Freddy and Jason, worked on each of them in their first installment. Some fun piece of trivia for you there. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say about Friday the 13th. It's a neat reimagining of Psycho, just inversing the surprise, I guess, with a compelling killer in this one alone, with a kind of brilliant final scare that comes on the lake at the end of the movie. Makes not a lick of sense, but it's a great final scare moment with a pretty solid score by Harry Manfredini. And for each Friday the 13th that we have coming up in the next several years, I will review a different Friday the 13th movie. So coming, I think I looked at the calendar. This is the only Friday the 13th of 2022, so this will be my only Friday the 13th review. But next year, I think has two, so you'll get at least two Friday the 13th reviews out of me in 2023. Barring catastrophe. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know, what did you think of the original Friday the 13th? Would you be interested in watching a Pamela Voorhees led reboot? And or are you more of a Jason fan? I never was. The Friday the 13th franchise is not one I'm a huge fan of, though they're wickedly watchable movies. So yeah, there you have. Thanks for watching. Bye.